everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video we have an eyeshadow palette bingo. I haven't done one of these on my channel for a while now, and this was actually my husband's inspiration. I was talking to him about makeup ideas and videos I wanted to do, not that he cared or was listening, but it was kind of just a sounding off board, and I couldn't decide what video I wanted for today. So he said, why don't you do one of those ones where you spin a wheel and apply the makeup? So this is what we've ended up with, an eyeshadow palette bingo. So for this one, I thought I would go ahead and use the Urban Decay Naked Wild West palette, which is a recent addition to my collection, so I thought it'd be fun to play with. This will actually be my first time touching this palette. Well, I say that, but this is my second time filming this intro, because the first time I went away to get some extra brushes and just watched back the first clip, and I had a whole load of lipstick on my teeth, which, considering I've put a mirror right here, I don't know how I managed that. So I'm now refilming because it was really distracting. It now means that I'm not showing a completely fresh palette. I did do a close-up of the palette in that first clip I filmed where you can't see the lipstick on my teeth, so I will insert that now so you can see fully the close-up of it. It's not the best close-up, but you can get a rough idea of all the shades before they've even been touched. So now, I don't know if you will be able to see, but it's kind of a sneak peek of what shades are included in this palette bingo. I also am going to have to kind of cover the swatches already on the back of my hand, save me doing them again. Handy that I'm wearing a jumper. So just to run through, the numbers that the generator picked were number 2, which is this shade Spare, number 5, which is Cowboy Rick, and then it did pick 9, 10 and 11, which is Ghost Town, Whiskey and Tex. So I have swatched all 5 of those on the back of my hand, which does save time in this video. So this is what I need to create my look with. I have decided that this shade here at the top, which is Spare, is a little bit too light to go in with my crease, I think. So I think I'm going to go in with Ghost Town and then possibly blend it out with that one. And then I will do this one, which is Whiskey, in my outer corner. I'll go all over the lid with Cowboy Rick, and then I think I'm going to use the teal shade as a lower lash line shade because I've seen quite a few people doing that in tutorials and it does look really pretty. So having swatched them, I say this is my initial impression of this palette. This does feel like quite a dry formula. I do know that the other naked palettes I have in my collection, it is generally a dry formula compared to other brands, but this palette, if I'm honest, does feel a little bit drier than them. So I'm going to see how it goes, because generally I do love the naked formula, but I'm not too sure with this one, but that is just based on swatching, and swatching doesn't tell everything. So I'm really hoping that the mirror I have here isn't going to be in shot. It does have a little light on it, which I'm going to put on, but it shouldn't hopefully create any shadows. And I'm now looking thinking it might not be close enough because my eyesight's gone really bad. So why don't we get started? And I have brought a handful of brushes over, even though there is one that came in it, which I wasn't going to use, but it might be the perfect time to try it. So I think this might actually be the perfect amount of density that I want. So brush is nice and soft, and I do like the shape of that one because I don't have many of that style, but I don't know if I want to go in with a slightly fluffier brush for that first shape because it's going to be quite dark. But then I don't want it to kind of go everywhere. I don't know if I'm going to reach for all of these brushes, but just to quickly go over them. Obviously this is the one on the palette. Then we have this one from Sigma, which is dual ended. We have this one from Morphe, which is the M535. We also have 2 from Morphe with Jaclyn Hill. This is the JH40 and this one is the JH33. I think I'm going to go in with the Sigma one first because I think that's the right level of density for a slightly deeper shade. So I'm going to first of all go in my crease with Ghost Town. I think I'm actually going to use the mirror in the palette because that way I can get it closer to my face, but you can kind of see that better than the mirror in front of me. It does kick up a bit of product in the pan, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because it usually does mean that it's a bit more blendable. My eyes are getting more and more hooded, so I'm going to be pulling some really strange faces. Okay, that one's not too bad. It's not as deep and pigmented as I was worried it might be. Because I haven't done one of these for a while, I have completely lost the ability to apply makeup and talk at the same time. Yeah, that's quite a nice shade, and even though it does look pretty deep, it does blend out okay, but I think I still will kind of blend it out with that spare shade because I need to use that somewhere. Don't really know what the best angle is to, so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm so rusty doing one of these. And then I'm just going to go in on the other eye. I always have a bit more issues with this eye blending than the other one. I don't know if it's because of the angle and because I'm right-handed, but I always seem to never make this eye as even. I think I'm going to go in with the lighter shade spare with the brush from the palette and give that a go to just blend this out slightly and possibly bring it up a little bit higher. Just while I remember to mention, I do actually have a giveaway live on my channel at the moment. It is on my video ranking my Colourpop palettes, and in that you can actually win a Colourpop palette of your choice. So I will have that linked in the description box below. I don't always remember to put the cards in the right place, but I will have that linked in the description box if you do want to enter that. The video will be there to enter that. Yeah, see, that is quite a subtle shade on my skin tone. I will actually be quite intrigued to try that on its own as a crease shade to see what it's like, but it is blending this shade out nicely and just taking it a little bit higher up. This brush is really nice and soft, which is good. Has that done anything? I think it has blended those lines out slightly. See, I think if I wouldn't have done this palette bingo, I would have automatically, when I first used this palette, gone in with a lighter shade on my crease, and I wouldn't have thought to go in with that dark of a shade because those kind of shades I just predominantly use for my outer corner. So I am glad that for my first go with this palette I did do this, because it made me do something slightly different. And obviously the teal on the waterline, I don't think I would have necessarily tried that on my first go. Again, I think they're even. I'm not having a good makeup day generally, so if my eyeshadow looks terrible, I will not be surprised. I think that's the best I'm going to do. So now I'm going to take the flat end of the Sigma brush I was using. This is the E54 medium sweeper, and this is definitely one of my favourite brushes for packing in colour in the outer corner. So for this one I'm going to go in with Whiskey. I do actually have another video I could do with filming after this one, so I'm hoping this look turns out okay. That is nicely pigmented. So the shades are definitely performing a lot better on the eyes than they did in the swatches. I always go about halfway over my eye, it's never just the outer corner. I don't know why I always should do halfway. I do have some creases in the outer corner of my eye, and I'm not having any issues with this creating any patchiness there, which is nice, because normally shades this dark I do have obvious creasing, but I can't see it in this light. So that is a really gorgeous deep brown shade. I think I've gone over a little bit further on this eye, which I always do. I always end up going too far over. I do intend to stop about here, but never do. I don't know why. So this is going to be slightly darker than I thought, but again, another really gorgeous shade. And then I'm just going to go in with my finger in the shade Cowboy Rick. I always just apply shimmers with my finger. That is a really pretty shade. It's slightly more subtle than I thought it would be, but it does look really nice. I just need to try and build it up a little bit more where I went over too dark to kind of blend it in. I did think that would pull slightly more silvery than it has. It's more of a taupe shade, which I'm definitely into my taupes and cool tone brown, so that is fine by me. I do have a little bit of fallout off that shade, which I'm going to try and brush away with a brush that's probably not clean, because that is a job I do definitely need to do sometime soon. Hopefully I've not just put out more eyeshadow on my face. Yes, this is definitely a more drier shimmer. I think that's why I'm getting a little bit of fallout with it. It's not too dry, but it's not sort of creamy and blending onto the lid. It is taking a bit more of a kind of pattern sweep motion than a sweep motion, but I still think it looks really pretty. It does just need a little bit of building up. If I probably went in with a wet brush perhaps, or even just put some sort of setting spray on my finger, that would be a bit more impactful. I didn't get as much fallout that time round on this eye, so must have just been this eye. I'm just going to go back in with the shade Whiskey just to blend that a little bit better and deepen that outer corner again. Okay, so far I do really like how that looks, and it's now worrying me that this is the point that I could really ruin this look. But what I've done so far, this is a look that I will definitely be recreating with this palette, and I will be doing it the same way I did it with the darker shade in the crease, which is something that I wouldn't have necessarily gone for. But I do really like how that looks. I like that I've kind of got a sunrise effect going with the two shades being the Ghost Town and then the Spare. So I think that looks really nice, and the shimmer over the lid, even though it is quite subtle and it does look like it could be built up a little bit more, it still does look really nice, and that brown in the outer corner is a gorgeous shade. So Whiskey I will definitely be reaching into quite a lot, and I do actually have one of their 24/7 glide on pencils in the shade Whiskey, so that'll pair well as nice. I won't be going to get that and put that one on today because I can't remember where I've put it, but I do have that for future. So I've just reapplied my lipstick because I'm really procrastinating on putting that shade Tex on my lower lash line. I really don't know what brush to go in with this one. I did bring over this one, which is a pencil brush, I think. So that might be, yeah, I think that might be the best one to go in for. So we're going in with this teal shade Tex. And I'm just going to put the tiniest amount on the end, and I'll just start on the outer corner. And I already think I've ruined this. I've gone too far. This was not the right brush. I should have gone in with the tip out, so I don't really know how to rescue this. Yeah, I don't love how that looks at all. I think I'm going to go and wipe this off and come back with a finer brush. I think this was the wrong brush to go with because it's done it too low down, and I don't like how that looks, so I'll be back in 1 minute. So I'm going to try again, and I'm going in with this tiny brush, which is another one from Morphe Jaclyn Hill and is the JH42. But I'm hoping because this one is slightly thinner and flatter, this might be a bit better. So take 2 with applying the teal, and I'm aware that my under eyes might now look completely uneven because this has kind of got a bit of fresh concealer under it. And that was possibly too tiny of a dip because I can't see any product there. Let's try again. This was the bit I was worried about. That's better. That's more what I was wanting to go for. Because I don't tend to put any eyeshadow under my eyes generally, I just never like how it looks, but this seems to be a good brush for it. I think I went a bit too low with this front bit here, but there's not much I can do about that now. I got a bit too confident when applying it. I might actually go in with a bit more of a Cowboy Rick and do it as a kind of inner corner with this brush and maybe extend it down a little bit to disguise that green. I think I'm at the point of no return with this one, so I'm going to have to just try and stick with it and then possibly try and fix it before I film my next video. And now onto the next eye, as if that one wasn't stressful enough. Okay, so that is both eyes done, and I think in the inner part here, this is more how I intended this one to go, but I don't love it with the teal under the eyes. I've seen so many people do it with the teal and I think it looks great, but for me I just don't absolutely love it. So I think I might take off just the under eye section before filming my next video because I'm not 100% comfortable with it, although do I just leave it because it is slightly different? Maybe just reapply this eye instead. Because I don't think it looks terrible, it's just definitely not my kind of comfort zone, and I think it looked quite harsh on me because I'm not used to seeing my eyes like this. I feel like it somehow accentuates my under eye dark circles, but that might just be me. So yeah, I'm not too sure about that lash line, but I am really glad that I did it because I think I would have kept putting off using that as a lash line shade and just going for my kind of comfort zone. So I'm really glad that I did this as an eyeshadow palette bingo because it definitely has taken me out my comfort zone as much as you can be taken out your comfort zone with a pretty neutral palette. So I think I'm just going to go in with a bit more extra mascara because I did have a little bit on before I began filming, and then I will sort of go a bit closer for the final look. and I've just nearly dropped the palette on the floor. So for mascara, I'm going in with the Maybelline Sky High Mascara. This is my first time using it this month, and so far I'm pretty impressed. It does remind me a lot of the Benefit Bad Gal Bang, which did used to be one of my all-time favourite mascaras, but I haven't repurchased it because it is quite expensive. So if I've now got a drugstore alternative, then even better. But I do definitely feel like this gives me great amount of length, which is my preference when it comes to mascara. So that is the final look, which I will do a bit of a zoom in of. And if you take away the lower lash line, I absolutely love this look, and it is a look I will definitely recreate in the future. It's just the lash line completely throws me off. So I'm going to have a closer look at a bigger mirror with a bigger light to see what I think about it and see whether I leave the lower lash line on or not for my next video. So stay tuned to my next video to see if I kept the lower lash line or not. But overall, kind of first impressions of using this palette, I am pretty impressed. Even though when I did the initial swatches I wasn't too impressed, I feel like once they are applied to the eye they are really nice. I do feel like this shade here, Cowboy Rick, is slightly underwhelming in that it does take up quite a bit of building, more so than I thought. But I am intrigued to try these couple of other shimmer shades in here to see how impactful they are. Overall, this is a palette that I do know I'm going to reach for a lot in my collection, and I am really glad that I picked it up and added it to the collection of naked palettes that I already have. And I do just love the outer packaging of this one too. But other than that, that is it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already. Thanks.